is a difference, a huge difference in being content and being complacent. Contentment is a state of being where you accept the reality of your situation without complaint or resentment. When you're content, you work on the things that you can change and you accept the things that you can't. When you're content, you don't let circumstances steal your joy. When you're content, you're okay with where you are now, but you wouldn't mind pursuing something greater. That's contentment. But when you talk about being complacent is a totally different thing, because when you're complacent, you somehow begin to accept a mindset of that'll do or that's good enough mentality. You become satisfied with mediocrity and you possess no real aspiration to want to pursue more, to want to go after more. When you're complacent, you don't thrive for anything greater. Neither do you see the need to go after anything better than the place that you're in. But in this season, people of God, even in this new year, you must understand that the state of contentment is very healthy, but the state of complacency is very dangerous. Because being complacent being content, it would allow you to be happy with where you are while at the same time pursuing something greater. But understand this, that being complacent, it will cause you to stay stuck in that same place all your life. Paul said in verse 11 and verse 12, he said, "For I have learned that whatever state I am in, to be content." He said that I know how to be abased and I know how to abound. He said, "Everywhere in all things, I have learned to be both full and to be hungry." He said, "I know how to abound and to suffer need." Paul was saying, in other words, that whatever state that I am in, whatever season that God has me in at this point in my life, he says that I'm not going to complain, neither will I be complacent about it, but I'm going to be satisfied. And see, a lot of times, even in the church, instead of being satisfied, we complain. Paul was basically saying that, look, even though my coworkers, they working on my last nerve, I'm still going to be happy with the job that God has blessed me with. He was basically saying I will still be happy with the house that I have now, even though it's giving me all kind of problems. He said that I'm going to be satisfied with the car that I drive now, even if it's not the one that I want. Paul said that I have learned that whatever state that I am in, whatever place that God has me in, whatever is going on in my life, despite the good, despite the bad, Paul says that I have learned how to be content. Look at somebody and tell them, be content. Paul says to be content, and understand this, that to be content, it simply means to be satisfied. Paul was basically telling the church, in other words, I'm going to accept the reality of my situation because I know that this is only temporal. It's subject to change any day. That's why, watch this, when we go through situations and when we go through trials, we can't, as Christians, be complacent in our trial, because understand this, that trials are not designed for you to be complacent in. That's not how trials work. That's not how trials operate. Trials are not meant for you to get comfortable. And you know, it reminds me of the story with Paul and the thorn. The Bible lets us know that 3 times Paul wrestled with God. 3 times Paul besought God, and he said, God, can you take this thorn out of my flesh, because this thorn is too mighty for me. But it wasn't until God told Paul that my grace is sufficient for thee. In other words, can you stop complaining about the thorn and be satisfied with my grace? Oh my God. Can you stop complaining about the job that you have now and be satisfied that it pays all your bills? Can you stop complaining about the car that you have now and be satisfied that it takes you from point A to point B? understand this, that your trials, it's not designed for you to be complacent in it. But look at somebody and tell them your trials is designed for you to learn how to be content. That's why Paul says to count it all joy concerning the fiery trials which come to try you. In other words, Paul was saying, be content in your situation. Be satisfied in your trial. Rejoice in what you're going through. Look at somebody and tell them, be content.
Intentional